I'm going to hand over now to our last 10-minute speaker. I'm going to ask, is Stuart Palmer in the room? Stuart, hey, you're very accomplished as a speaker. Can we get the 10 down to 5?
I'll go for it.
Go on.
10 down to 5. There's no pressure there, is there? Thank you very much. Thank you, first of all, to Tom Sanderson, who founded 5 Talents 8 years ago here. Also, thank you to Trey Craft, Ram Goodamount and Rob Donnelly, who put up with me there for 7 years. I've just come back from Malawi, where I've lived for 8 years. I'm still not used to the weather. What have we got on the slide? There we are, we're rolling. This monitor's meant to be working. My comfort monitor is uncomfortable, there's nothing there. Harrison, it's all going pear-shaped. 2 questions. What if you fell ill today? What if you fell ill today? Where would you be taken? And how many people would visit you? So obviously the first one, easy, go to the local hospital. How many people would come and visit you in hospital? Quick guess. I'm mobile. How many people would you reckon would come and visit you? 3, yeah? 10. 10, yeah, okay. Stuart?
There are not many.
So modest. You may rightly wonder why I'm starting this now 5-minute talk by asking such strange questions. But hang on, all will be revealed. My aim is to do 3 things. Introduce you to Innocent, to Henrietta, and then to stir you up. STIR is an acronym for Sustainable, Transformational, Inspirational, and Replicable. And we'll come back to that later. I was going to talk about poverty and the different parts to poverty, but let's just drill in. In the UK here, we are very blessed in terms of access to healthcare, but if we think about our relational networks, they tend to be much smaller than countries that we deal with in Africa. So if we were plunged into hospital, we've had a range of answers from 3, I think the highest was 10. People I've just been visiting with in Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania would be disappointed if they didn't get 60 visitors to them when they're in hospital. Now, I call that relational capital, and if we start to think about who's poor now, and we think about relational capital, then that actually does have a lot of value, as Tim Gotcha highlighted earlier in his talk on Nepal. So our work at 5 Talents is essentially to leverage relational capital and help people convert that into financial capital. And we'll show you, through the aid of Innocent, how we do this. Because Innocent lives in a country where institutions are weak, often due to corruption and capacity issues. So he needs to have a big network of good friends, and we don't just mean Facebook friends, we mean real friends who he does life with. So he's invested a lot in that. 5 Talents operates 2 basic models, a credit-led model and a savings-led model. We use the savings-led model, which we prefer, so I'm going to share more detail on that. I'm just going to give these envelopes out here. This is a hard-working table. I want you to open these envelopes, and Maria, you count up what you've got there. Thank you very much. No danger of that table falling asleep. So what we do in a savings-led model is we encourage people, like we've got here, to get 5 into groups of 5. They meet together each week. They save a little bit of money. And after a few weeks, you've got that concentrated group savings, that concentrated group capital, and it can be lent to one of the smart people in the group who've got a business, and they can use it wisely to grow their business. So we'll see how quickly they've counted up. How much have you got there? Come on, Maria. You can do the big numbers, but the small... £15. Okay, so now this is a question for all of you. You've got £15 of capital saved up here in the UK. Which of the 3 are you going to buy? A house. Votes for a house. Anybody? B, a production facility. Or C, a vehicle. So I want to see a show of hands for A house. Who wants to buy a house? You think you can buy a house for £15? Okay, right. B, a production facility. Any hands for B? You reckon you can buy a production facility in the UK for £15? Or C, a vehicle? Okay, right. The correct answer, of course, is a production facility, and that's my second guest, Henrietta. You can hold that, Stuart. Point of laid chicken in the UK today costs about £15. So all 3 have utility, but Henrietta works hardest. But in reality, Innocent, who I met over in Uganda a few weeks ago, is far more creative than I am with the chicken. He's taken 3 loans so far from 5 Talents. His first loan, he bought a sewing machine because he's a trained tailor. Then he bought, with his second loan, some more materials. And then with his third loan, he bought tarpaulins because his other business is making underground water tanks for rainwater harvesting. So he's sold over 100 of these tanks so far because he lives high in the hills. So a very smart guy. Now, after these pictures, you might be forgiven for thinking that all of Africa is still very old tech, but the reality is different and a bit complex. So today in Uganda and Kenya, almost everyone has got one or more mobile phones, and some people have got smartphones. So this lady in pink can friend me on Facebook. So what's going on here? It's all a bit crazy, isn't it? Let's just do a quick history. So the PC comes along. That's quite revolutionary. Then we get the internet. Then we get the laptop computer, which accelerated, took it mobile. Then mobile made it intimate. And the tablet has put the fun back. So this is really where the action is now. And in 2014, of course, a smartphone is actually the cheapest way to connect to the internet. So when you get to Africa, what have you got there? Well, you've got all of this and more. And of course, as we've heard earlier in the day, the more is mobile money. So Kenya leads the world with this, arguably, and then you've got Uganda and Tanzania biting at its heels. And just to prove that the continent is really cutting edge, that's me on a plane from Kampala to Nairobi trying Google Glass that somebody lent me, one of the entrepreneurs in the seat next to me. So, yeah, you can get it all in Africa. So let me, in this final section, stir it up a little. At 5 Talents, we're aiming to make our work even more sustainable, transformational, inspirational and replicable. I was going to share 5 ways to do that, but let's just go back to Innocent, who we met earlier. See, the future for Innocent can look very different from how the reality is today. So we're piloting a system whereby he doesn't have to walk 6 hours, and it is 6 hours, to the nearest bank. Instead, he'll soon be able to use his mobile phone, and he can then go 16 minutes over the hills to the mobile money terminal and pay in and get out money from there. And that then means that when he goes to a savings and loans group meeting, as we had just now down on the front table, he can find out how he's getting on with his savings and loans on the tablet computer, which they have there. And on the tablet computer, they've got all the records of the group, and they can see that Innocent paid his money in over the mobile money network 2 days ago. So now that group, instead of spending hours on paper administration, can invest that time instead on how to improve the quality of Henriettas that we're producing, or the quality of the cows that are being kept. Now, finally, what if you added some financial capital? Our local partners rolled out the infrastructure and training, and people like Innocent leveraged their relational capital along with their sound business ideas and old-fashioned hard work. His family can be uplifted, his children catch the entrepreneurial bug, and his country begins to grow the middle class of tomorrow. Maybe this way, in future, when Innocent falls ill, he too will have the option of being treated in a decent hospital. Do please come and speak to me as soon as I finish, which is now.